Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, and thank you for keeping it with us here on UBC TV. I'm Robert Kirabo, and this is Good Morning Uganda, your morning show on UBC TV from 6:30 till the hour of 9. We are always here to ensure we update you, we equip you with information you need to know as you go about business throughout the day. Now, welcome to our Good Morning Uganda agenda, where we discuss issues of national concern, and usually we have a guest with us in studios with whom we discuss a number of issues. This morning, we are handling a very important topic. This is where most of the times we've had parliamentary committees questioning everything where it involved government procuring runs this docket at the end of the day. And this is the public procurement and disposal of public assets. And this is a body that we know as PPDA, the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Authority. And joining me on set this morning is the Executive Director of PPDA, Benson Tulame, with whom we are going to be discussing more regarding open contracting. Now, many people have heard of this. Many people want to benefit. Many people want to know, what does really open contracting mean? How do we get to understand it? What are the benefits therein? And allow me to welcome him this morning. Welcome to our studios this morning.
Thank you, Robert.
Now, first, to give shape to the direction of this show, when you talk about PPDA, many know yes, an act of parliament, but what do you do? Others only hear of you when they are questioning people in parliament. Did you follow the PPDA Act? Did you follow the procedures? What went wrong? Where was this authority? So let's begin by giving shape into understanding what really you do. What is your mandate?
Thank you, Robert, and good morning, viewers. This morning we are going to talk about public procurement, and maybe before I answer what is PPDA, allow me first indicate what is public procurement, so that we understand that before 2003, procurement was centralized. We had the Central Tender Board, which was concerned with procuring for all government entities. And in 2003, the Act of Parliament now decentralized public procurement, meaning that all procurements are handled by entities. And entities, we are talking about central government entities, we are talking about parastatals, we are talking about local government, higher local government entities, those are district local governments and municipal local governments. Recently, of course, we have many cities, including KCCA. So when we talk about decentralized public procurement, it means that these government agencies procure by themselves. They identify their requirements, their procurement requirements, they budget for them, they call for bids, they receive bids, and evaluate bids, award contracts, and also execute contracts and pay contractors. So generally, the whole cycle, procurement cycle, is handled by the procuring and disposing entities or government agencies. What then the role of PPD? What is the mandate of PPD, Robert, as you correctly asked, is that we are an oversight agency to ensure that these processes, right from identification of needs, planning, and up to the end, they are done in a transparent, efficient, competitive, non-discriminatory, and delivers value for money. So as government agencies do those procurements, then we have to ensure that the whole process is transparent and fair to all who may want to participate in these government procurements. And the mandate, again, is to ensure that we build capacity to both providers and procuring entities or officials, so that they understand what the Act of 2003, the PPDA Act, provides, and they don't breach it. We also do what we call compliance monitoring to ensure that all these who are procuring are doing it in that manner of following the PPDA law. And again, we harmonize standards. If they are, we set standards. For example, all government entities, if we are procuring works, we are talking about roads, we are talking about buildings, we are talking about waterworks, we have standard bidding documents. And you just customize some areas of your need, evaluation, and the contract terms. But the rest of that, of the instructions to bidders, are standard for all government entities, so that you don't start creating your own standards. So that is our role again, setting standards and also harmonizing rules and regulations. Recently, there was an act of parliament that the PPDA was amended. Actually, we talk about 2003, but in 2021, June 2nd, actually, the president set it to the act, so it has been amended. And that amendment process, working with Minister of Finance, working with Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, that is what we do, so that if there are challenges in the procurement processes, then we can resolve them even if it needs amending the Act. So that's what we do. And Robert, as you know, that the 60% of government budget that recently was read will be spent through public procurement, through works, services, and supplies. When you see, like these machines, this equipment, they were done through public procurement because UBC is a government agency, so they also follow the PPDA Act. If you see consultant services, if you see like you have cleaners here, they had also to use PPDA. If you are procuring roadworks, you are building roads like UNRA, KCCA, they have to use PPDA.
Go through the same. So now Ugandans rightly know what PPDA does. Now let's go to open, that is contracting.
Yes.
This word has been around for some time. And many of the questions sometimes I hear Kosase asking, now, was this through open contracting? Help us understand what is open contracting.
Actually, maybe let me first differentiate what at times the public talks about in terms of open competitive bidding. Open competitive bidding is different from open contracting. Open competitive bidding is where you avail the opportunity through advertising, open advertising, and everybody that qualifies will participate. And the law, that's a method of procurement, open competitive bidding. And we have what we call open international competitive bidding and open domestic competitive bidding. When we say open international competitive bidding, it means you are going to advertise internationally. Every party, whoever qualifies, can participate. But when we talk about open contracting, we are mainly talking about publication and disclosure of government contracts to the public. You publish them and disclose them. You disclose the information on government contracts. That is open contracting. And this mainly is for purposes of ensuring transparency and accountability to the citizens of the Uganda. Because when we talk about that budget I talked about, who is paying this money? The citizens of Uganda. Even where government borrows money for public procurement, for public works and goods and services, the citizens are going to pay. So we are saying disclose and publish this information on the contracts that are government are doing.
Idi, let's understand, when we refer to the public, it may seem very obvious. But then how does the public get to access this information? You've talked about the field of infrastructure. You know, how do people get to know that this road, you know, was contracted, it is by so and so, and get these details? How do an ordinary Ugandan who is going to move on this road, who is inconvenienced by the construction process, get to understand? Because the aim is promote accountability, I'm very sure.
Yes.
Also this and transparency, like you rightly said. But an ordinary Ugandan, how do they access this information?
Now, in the first place, maybe let me talk about the process of disclosure. It starts from planning. Every entity of government, every year, like now we are starting financial year in July, they have procurement plans, and this is a legal requirement. They have to come up with procurement plans with their budgets. This government entity, Koboko, district local government, they have a procurement plan. These procurement plans are submitted to the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, and PPDA. They are also published. We publish these procurement plans on the PPDA website. That is the first disclosure. So that if you are a bidder or a potential bidder who wants to benefit and participate in government contracts, then you plan. You know that this entity is going to have so many works. They are going to procure laboratory equipment. They are going to procure medicines. They are going to procure uniforms. So that if you are in that area, you plan accordingly. So the first disclosure is at planning. The second disclosure is, and I have said that those procurement plans are published on the PPD website. The second disclosure is at the actual implementation of the plan. Because if it requires open competitive bidding, then they have to advertise for those opportunities. So when they advertise, they're actually disclosing that this is what is available and you can participate. And again, the adverts are also published on the website. Currently, they are advertised even in the papers. If it is open competitive bidding, you have seen entities say we are pre-qualifying for providers. When they are pre-qualifying, that means they are trying to generate this. They generate a list that now that they will be using over that period. It can be 1 year list, it can be 3 year list, over that period, where they are not going to advertise, where they are going to use selective bidding or restricted bidding or request for quotation. When they are using those methods, then they say, Benson, Robert, and Matthew, we have shortlisted you from this list, which we qualified at the beginning of the financial year, and then compete amongst those three. And the minimum receipt of bids is 3. Now, that is another point of disclosure. So that they say we have this area, these procurements, and they are small values. So since they are small values, we are not going to use open bidding. We'll use selective bidding. The other, when they, after the data revert, then they evaluate. Actually, even when those who submit bids, whether it is open bidding or restricted bidding, those who submit bids are also displayed. That is another point of disclosure. When we advertised, these submitted their bids. And from the beginning, you know you are competing with so and so, even under open competitive bidding. Now they go through submission of bids and evaluation. At evaluation, of course, there must be a winner. So this winner has also to be published.
Now you talk about published. Is it in the Gazette?
No.
Papers, on your website? I mean, where is this publication done?
The publication, before, even now actually, we say display on your notice board.
Okay.
It is a legal requirement actually. Display on your notice board who has won this contract. But now going IT, they have also to put on online. Even those who have participated. Maybe I'll talk about the new developments of like automation of the process now. The current scenario I'm giving is the manual process, but we are going automation. That manual eventually is going to be being automated, and we have piloted in some entities. Now, when you display on the notice board, first of all, you say this is the winner. His contract price is so much, and these have been unsuccessful, and the reasons for being unsuccessful. And if you are not satisfied with the reasons that has been displayed, then that is when actually people start now coming to PPDA and say, no, these were unfair. They are saying I didn't have experience, but the experience I gave was as per the requirement. So if something like that comes, then we come in as regulators, say, no, we review and say, the bidding requirement were this, because you remember you have issued a bidding document and set your exam, your evaluation criteria. You say someone must have done similar works of similar nature and complexity in the last 3 years. What's this? You must have personnel. You must have equipment if they are like road works or works. You must be eligible, meaning that you are registered, you are paying taxes. If you have staff, you are paying NSS, those NSSF, those are eligibility requirements. Because someone can say, I am eligible and I'm registered. We have seen cases where even someone fails or forgets to put a registration certificate. Then you say, but you didn't. And if you didn't, the entity can get clarification and say, you say you are registered, but where is your certificate? Then they get it. Those eligibility requirements these days you can submit even after they have closed. So that is very important at award, because that is where at times complaints and disagreements come. And when you are not transparent at that point, then
issues will arise.
Issues will arise, and also people lose confidence in your system. We have seen cases where actually said, this one I will not participate because this entity is not transparent, and you get low bidder submissions. But after that disclosure, then it comes to the contract, and that is where I come in.
That's where I have my interest most.
Is. Now you have
because
contracted.
This is a bit of technical, those interested and all that.
Yes. You have contracted, and someone is executing the contract. If you have seen, actually it's not even only government contracts. If the buildings, you have seen, okay, I can give you an example of building recently where we completed our building. And you will see, first of all, a signpost there. The contractor is so and so. The supervising consultant is this. That is the first disclosure. And this is, if you go in rural areas or up country, that's what we are looking for. You, a citizen, you should be able to know the contractor is so and so. Is he the one on site? Is he the one doing the work? If you trace back to the other display on the notice board, is he the one actually that was displayed, or there is a different contract on site? But of course, when you come to also we have what we call government procurement portal, which is accessible. This government procurement portal, which is housed at PPDA, it has all that information. All awarded contracts by government, you can access them on a government procurement.
But just click over button.
Click over button. And here you get more information with the contractor, because now you want to compare. If you want to compare, first of all, you didn't see the one who was displayed on the notice board. Now you say, on portal, is he the one on site? Yes. What is the contract value? That information is also there.
But some of these, they don't put the contract value. You'll find the site, who is managing and all that, duration and value.
That one you will get it on the portal.
Okay.
Maybe we can improve, even they put it on the notes.
Yes,
we could improve
because,
that area.
Edie, I must accept there has been an improvement in these signposts. I must say government has done a lot to ensure that. But what is most important for the people is to know the duration, which you rarely find, even if you drive around of these projects, and people don't know whether to demand that if you're supposed to be here for 3 years, it is coming to 5 years. Why are you still not doing, or even to look at the space of which the work is running, the time frame? Then the second has always been the value. You know, one would say maybe big figures can scare the locals. You know, when they see 15 billion local to construction, they may not know the technicalities and they may think a lot of money has been put there. Yet there are other technicalities concerned and all that. So I think that is an area of improvement.
Yes, I agree with you, but it's an area of improvement, especially in terms of the public view on such notice board. But that information is still, if it is required, it can be accessed. And it is very, very important, because that is where we have serious challenges. You find there are cost overruns. The project was supposed to use maybe $1 billion. They have spent 1.5 billion. There are time overruns, as you have said. A project is supposed to take 1 year. It has taken so long. So that is your point is very, very important, and that's an area of improvement. But in terms of the government procurement portal, which is IT based, it is, and currently we have partnered with civil society organizations, different areas in Uganda, because those were, we can't be everywhere.
True.
So that even they are able to access our GPP.
But partnering with civil society organizations, that was said, what is your monitoring system to compliance, to people complying on these entities, these agencies complying? Because we know everything in government, sometimes a lot of money is allocated to sectors. But always look at what percentage goes to monitoring and enforcing compliance to some of these. Do you have a system within PPDA?
The monitoring, even in Ministry of Finance, actually, they have a budget monitoring unit, a whole budget monitoring unit. For them, their interest is how is budget being used. They have given budget to Chisoro District Local Government, to Jinja Referral Hospital. So they have to go and see how the budget has been consumed, utilized. But in terms of contract monitoring, actually we have put a system. It's also an IT system. We worked with GIZ, that's the German company, together with CSOs. Currently we signed MOUs, Memorandum of Understanding, with 12 civil society organizations spread all over the country, in Rwenzori, in Kabale, in Nembe, in Mbale, all over the country. And the GIZ actually provided them with even smartphones, just smartphones, and that system was put on that, so that we can get timely feedback from these CSOs, because legally they may not have mandate to enforce compliance. But now the partnership is that on a click of a button, they say this site has been abandoned. 3 weeks now, the contractors are not on site. This building, there is show the work on this contract. Then they can even take snapshots, exchange with our monitoring team at PPDA, then we have timely response. And we have secured a number of contracts where contractors are dildaring. They are paid. Maybe they have another contract somewhere. They say this money is shifted to go and do the other contract. They keep playing like that. Then we move in. And where we have moved in, because we also have a very strong stick of saying if we have failed to execute your contract obligations, then PPDA will blacklist you. can suspend you from not participating in government contracts for a period. And that scares them because that is, I mean, their daily bread. So if you are suspended for, say, 3 years, even after those 3 years, life is not the same. People start fearing, even private sector we have had where NGOs in the country write to us and say this company, confirm that this company is not blacklisted. So the moment we publish you on our website that you are suspended, then life has changed.
Well, Edie, you've talked about civil society organizations. I believe they're doing a tremendous job in terms of holding organizations accountable. But I want to look at the ordinary man. How empowered are they? How sensitized are they and knowledgeable to cause accountability? Because at the end of the day, they're the beneficiaries. Yes. NGOs do a great work, but they are doing their job. He may not even be staying in that community at all, but this ordinary Ugandan, have you, what has been your assessment in terms of calling for the accountability? Because it's all done in favor of them.
You see, and this is what should come, or what we should inculcate in the minds of Ugandans. Knowing that government projects are theirs.
Many don't view it that way.
That is a trouble. You find a construction in a school, they are constructing a borehole or water source. I say that is a government project. But who is government? Who is government in the first place?
Constructing a road and someone is buying the culverts and no one is bothered. Your government.
Yeah, your government. But the government, who is using that road? Who is going to drink this water? Who is going to access this access road? It is you. At times, like especially like access roads that go into these villages where they are going to use to market their products, and you see a government official is abandoning, is not doing the right things, and they say, your government. No! Citizens should know that the money that is used on government projects is their money. When you consume this salt or soap or sugar, you are paying taxes. And these taxes must get back to deliver service, the service that you can still use to boost your income. And I think that's where we must now focus. Like now at PPDA, now we are moving out also to sensitize the public on the parish development model. That is a talk now. But how do we age in? How do we come in? So that whatever small projects that are done at the lowest level, what is the level of participation of the citizens? So that is very, very crucial that we continue sensitizing, and this is what we are doing even now. We have programs up country, on radio, wherever my team of capacity building goes to different regions, they have to talk about citizens' involvement in contract monitoring. We have sensitized politicians, we have sensitized other DCs, and we are getting actually serious feedback. Some other DCs, we have another DC in Masindi. Recently, he raised serious issues, and we are handling them. Projects that have been abandoned, and when we come in, even the technical team now wake up and say, we need to do our regular supervision, the engineers and all the technical team, and you see projects moving.
Well, one would want to know, what are the benefits of this? Yes, projects are moving in, but for the public, for the leaders, for the people also, the contractors, who may see this, that maybe public PPDA may make it a requirement, but doesn't favor them. Sometimes people may not even understand what acts in their advantage.
Now, if we start with contractors, we have, within the law, focused on how, especially the local contractors, should benefit within the legal framework. And what we have as an emerging development, we have provided reservation reserving specific contracts to our local contractors, meaning that the local contractors, the benefits are many. They employ our people here.
Though most of the times they have come out and said they are sidelined.
No, we have reserved. We have already put reservations. Of course, we are looking at. I wouldn't say even they are low values, because if you talk about 45 billion of roadworks as reserved contracts for local contractors, it's a lot. 45 billion. And for the other works, buildings and waterworks, 10 billion is a lot. What that means that the only competition is among the local contractors. So that you develop the local industry, the local domestic industry, so that tomorrow they are able to compete with the foreigners. But also where a foreigner gets a contract here in Uganda, they compete and get a contract. They must demonstrate that 30% of the value of that contract has gone back to...
Is that going to subcontracting?
Subcontracting arrangement. And that is where we need to focus as PPDA in terms of enforcing again compliance. Because I need to come to the ground. Our team has to work with a contracting agency and say, yes, at the bidding, you say you are going to contract Robert, who is a Ugandan or a resident provider for that matter. But is he the one doing the work? Or you have put a jacket, these reflectors saying Robert and Sons Company, when actually inside it is a different person. Because we have had those cases where the foreign contractors get those contracts, but when it comes to actual implementation, they say, Robert, get out. You are supposed to get 5 billion, just have 1 billion and disappear. And that is not the intention of subcontracting that we are trying to create. We are saying build capacity, build skills, work with this contractor, foreign contractor, and learn even the best practices of implementing such big contracts. And tomorrow, if we say, like now, during COVID, we had serious lockdown, some contracts stalled because some of those which were implemented by foreign contractors, maybe they couldn't even come.
Ship equipment, be present. Yes.
So we need to develop our local domestic industry, and that is what we are doing. We have we had guidelines to that effect. Now we are transforming those guidelines into a regulation, which is more powerful than just a guideline.
But even before we leave this, Idi, help us understand, because these are issues that always come up. When you talk about the local contractor, a foreigner who comes in Uganda, sets up a company over a period of time, does he qualify to be a local contractor, or it must be an indigenous person, a Ugandan?
Now, there are two, I would say two definitions of what, or two ingredients of what we call a local contractor. The first ingredient is national. A national contractor. A national contractor is a Ugandan, wholly owned by Ugandans. But also we have the second ingredient is a resident contractor. A resident is one who has been here in Uganda for a long time. And we have them. You see Indians here, they have been here for a long time. And they are employing Ugandans, they are paying our taxes, they are using utilities of this country. So those become resident contractors. So when I'm talking about local contractors, I'm talking about both national and resident. And they are benefited, especially those who are in manufacturing industry. Most of them are residents. If you go to Nigeria, for example, those are resident contractors. Those goods manufactured here that are purchased or procured by government, we are saying they should have priority. And that's what we are monitoring. That reservation I was talking about, uniforms. And we have night here, we have spine here in Nabogorovi. If the army, police, and prisons are buying, those are the ones who are the main buyers of uniforms. They have to buy from here because that is a resident provider, and he should benefit because he has invested in this country. So we should invest. So uniforms, medicines, and electricals, those products have been reserved. And the regulations I'm talking about, they are going to reserve more. Transformers, furniture, printing. You had the quarrel fight when we were printing the ballot papers. They are going to be printed. But when we reserve those products, then irrespective of the value, even if you are buying 100 billion, then you must buy from here. And I believe, especially now that we are talking about import substitution and promoting our domestic industry, public procurement will boost this economy. Because if 60% of the budget, we are talking about the budget, if we remove the debt payments and what, maybe 30 trillion, 60% is like 18 trillion. If it can be put back in the economy, then this economy will boost. And that's our focus.
Now, that was at the side of the contractors. We are still looking at the benefits of that is open contracting. Viewers, and of course, this is aimed at promoting accountability, but we want to see how do various stakeholders benefit through this process.
Now we are talking about increased transparency and accountability. If there is increased transparency, that means we are building confidence, especially of the providers, and participation. That is important. And when there is increased participation, then in terms of competitiveness, in terms of competition, then we deliver value for money. We derive value for money from a competitive process. Of course, you have had where the processes have gone direct. And we think where direct procurement is used without competition, then they could be inflated contract figures. But where you know that there is competition, then you have to really cost your product, your contract, your bid in a manner that you are going to deliver value for money for government. But also, this open contracting, there is improved stakeholder engagement. Because if we know that there is disclosure, then you as a citizen, you know this contract. And you can also go to this accounting officer. Accounting officers tend to be so big. You have heard the president saying, these big
goddesses,
officials of government. I'm also an accounting officer. But you have to have accessibility. A citizen should come and say, I need to look at this contract. And that is given. Access to information is a given to anybody.
Though not are given, as most of the times, even as journalists, sometimes you find it hard. Yet, this is public interest. This accounting officer then will tell the clauses of the contract that are not for public view. They are this and that.
I tell you, Robert, if you get that scenario, come to me. I will make sure that you access you are supposed to access this contract. And that is the only way we can provide oversight. Not necessarily only oversight agencies like IG, Auditor General, PPDA. No. Even the civil society organization, the media should be able to provide that oversight. So that when you are, a government official knows that if I make a mistake here, people know that this contract value is, this contract is so much, And I've seen cases where you go and even measure the building. You find someone has taken like 2 feet of a whole building, and when you are going to calculate the total area, it becomes huge and costly. You should know that this contract, if they were going to roof, they were going to use this gauge of iron sheets. But you, if you observe, you say, but why did you use 30 instead of 28? So that disclosure, which we are getting through open contracting, the advantage to the country is that will improve the oversight. And not only by government agencies, but also by the media, the civil society organization. And we like the media, because at times we pick these cases from the media. The other day I was, actually the other I picked it from UBC. You reported the school, you see the school in Karamoja, which you, of course, the media at times you also exaggerate. I don't know. I've not got feedback from my team in Mbari. I told them go to Moroto and find out, because they were saying this seed school was abandoned 3 years ago and is used as a cow's crown. So no teachers, no desks, cows are entering there. So I picked that already. And I've already sent a team to go and see what is happening. And the cow should explain. Or the Minister of Education. Why is it like that? So the oversight, open contracting will improve oversight. And through this open contracting, we also have what we call open contracting data standard. That is put in a manner that will improve even use of this data, because it is in that standard that can be even international. Actually, this open contracting is not only a PPDA or a Ugandan issue, but even internationally, that disclosure is important for purposes of improving monitoring contracts.
You've already talked about purposes, but I have this question. I don't know how best we can improve this. Most of the times, I see a lot of post-mortem. That most of these things come out when damage has already been done. Where in open contracting can we avert or stop this or prevent it?
At implementation. At implementation, because you see, that is the most important part of contract. I've seen Honorable Ogwanga now arresting.
Has become a king of postmortem.
Yeah, arresting people, but at times you arrest people, but have you provide service? You
even arrest people, but does that bring back what has been lost? Does that change the damage?
Yeah.
In that?
So we are actually strengthening what we call contract monitoring. And the law, the PPDA Act, also gave us powers in contract audits. Contract audits is reviewing the contract implementation, during implementation. First of all, when a contract is signed, there are terms and conditions. And what you need to, during execution of the contract, what you need to focus is, are the terms and conditions of contract execution being adhered to. And if you are to do that, you must also know what the terms and conditions have been. You have had cases where they say, this road is shoddy. It's a statement, but do you know what the road was supposed to be? Some roads are supposed to be stone chipped, others are supposed to be asphalt, others are supposed to have drainage. One time there was a road in Rukonjiri, and they said the road has been washed away in one season. When we went to review, we found actually there was a contractual shortcoming. There were no drainage. the contractor was not supposed to drain it. He was supposed to grade, and after grading, you know, even when you put malam, when the rain comes, it will wash it away. Yeah.
Yes.
So we advise that maybe you first do the drainages. If you don't have enough money, first do the drainage. And that is where we have to be strong. And if we are going to do it as on a PPDA, then we may not be very much effective. That's why we have to partner with everybody. We have to partner with the locals, we have to partner with civil society organizations, which are based down there. And then we solve this. But also, if you are a citizen or a media, for example, or civil society organization, you must know what you are supposed to monitor. And that is what the capacity we are building with these CSOs. When you go to a building, observe a few things. You may not be an engineer or a technical person, but you can observe a few things, and you see they are supposed to use burnt bricks, but they are using unburnt bricks. That you can see. When you touch it, it is speeding off. They are not putting enough cement. Simple things like those, and the partnership that we are building, we want to emphasize during implementation. Don't come after the fact. Come during implementation and then give us feedback so that we know. But to do that, that information must be available to you so that you know what they were supposed to do. Otherwise, you will start querying issues which are not part of the contract.
Well, Edie, in the interest of time, let me have your final remarks regarding the public there. First, in having interest in these government various projects, because today we have so many people that have failed to understand that this belongs to them. Most of the ordinary citizen. A road is made, a border cyclist, there's a way they ride and they're just destroying the tarmac. Then you ask, what on earth is happening? Someone feels agitated or, most time politicians, and people are burning the very road that they have just done. They're destroying the same properties. So what are your final remarks regarding that is open contracting?
We should appreciate the government projects, what you would call government, because we are the users of government projects. We should appreciate if it is a government vehicle or government machinery, you use it as if it is your own. Because if you say, this is government, then you wonder who is even using this facility. Government is not using the facility, you are the one using the facility. And it would be important that we know that every government project is intended to benefit the citizens. So we should appreciate the government effort and use these facilities sparingly and effectively. Expo. We are, again, maybe as we go to the last remarks, again, in terms of exposure or disclosure, the PPDA is organizing an expo, a Procurement Expo, Business Expo 2022, together with FIPLO, who is our private partner. Because we also encourage partnering, government entities partnering with private, so that also we boost their capacity. We also support them in terms of the partnership. At times, government, when you are organizing something, you want to benefit from the private sector competencies. This expo will bring together the business community and also the procuring entities, so that we expose, we display the opportunities that are there from government to the business community, and also the business community should demonstrate what they have, what they can do, with government. But more importantly, what I mentioned from in the course of the discussion, that we are changing from manual system. The procurement cycle is changing from the manual system to automation, the electronic government procurement system. This electronic government procurement system is going to bring more disclosure to the public and all the other stakeholders, because now if you are registered, for example, and you have to be registered as a government provider on the system, and on that day, that expo will take place at Kirabo grounds, ceremonial grounds, from 8th of July to 10th of July. And we are going to be registering those even providers on the system, so that when you are registered on EGP, then you can get you can get information at the right time. If there is a bidding opportunity that has been published on the system, then you get a notification that the opportunity exists in this entity. Currently, we have 25 entities that have been put on the system, and therefore we'll be registering providers on that.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Benson Tuliame, who is the Executive Director, PPDA, that is Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Authority, for having found time. We've been discussing open contracting system. Now, for you, fellow Ugandan, here is information being given to you to promote accountability and transparency and avoid abuse of public funds. Please take keen interest to call for this accountability, so that open contracting will be meaningful and will save us millions, billions, trillions that are usually lost because of lack of transparency. Have a lovely day. Ruben is here to take you through the world of sports. See you tomorrow, God willing.